All right, bass heads. It's your boy. You know who this is and who this be's. OG Soda Pop Kid coming to you direct. Back down here at the storage unit. All right, I haven't had a good chance to talk to all of y'all. You know, like really since I've been back down here. And I'm gonna talk about the Mecca comp that was on the 6th this past Sunday. What happened with an amp that ended up blowing up. It happened with me and another competitor. We got the same amplifiers and the same subs. It's just that I have 9 of each and he has 12 of each. And one of his amps that blew up at first during a burp. And then an hour or so after him, one of mine blew up right behind him. It was cold out. I can't blame the weather on it, but then maybe I could. And it was rainy. And I wasn't even going to show up at the show, but I did anyway. You know what I mean? And I noticed some other teammates did not come to that show, but I showed up at the show. You know what I mean? I'm going to talk about these alternators and moving back down here in the storage unit and why I moved back down here. You know what I mean? And I was real exhausted and tired as well because it took me I was moving down here 3 straight days. Going back and forth, moving down here, and then coming down here, and then had to unbox a lot of stuff and then reorganize everything. So this is the unit that I had before I moved out of it. And I had rented a garage off my brother. But there's advantages to being down here because this is a 10 by 30. And my brother's garage was wider. It was 12 foot wide, but only 22 foot long. And his car is like 17 or 18 foot long. So there was not that much room from the front of my car to the wall and from the back of my car to the garage door. But down here, I have 10, maybe 12 more feet in front of me. So I can just grab the jack and slide it right under the car if I have to. I ain't got to back it up and all this, that, and the other. But I liked it because it was wider. I can open my doors more down there, but that's okay because if I want to work on this, you know, and I got to get in the car and open the doors, I can just back this out. You know what I mean? If I had to. All right. So let's talk about the amp. All right. And I'm going to get into something else too. And I'm going to tag my mechanic, Ben Hank, in this as well. I had an amp pop on a burp. And it was amp number 9, that one. And it was a brand spanking new. It was actually a brand spanking new amp. Because I got 9 of them in here now, and I had 8 of them in here. And I went to 9 subs and 9 amps. And on a burp, and no, it was not clipping. No, it wasn't soft clipping either. Okay? I had them set at 106.8 AC volts clean. All right? And actually, they were all still set pretty much the same when I put the new amp in yesterday. So I took a trip to Ohio, took the old one back, it was warranted, and got another one. Just like that. Okay? And so that's what happened to both of us. It just popped, and I was surprised that happened because the last amps I was using was the MD8K Terra amps, and I had them for like 2.5 years before anything happened to any of them. You know, and I had a problem with one, sent it back, got it fixed. Not sent it back, but sent it to a guy that fixes amps, got it fixed. I had a backup already. You know what I mean? I'm going to end up getting a backup for these Stetson Bravo bass Flex Impedance 8Ks. And I was explaining in one of the videos how I got the most power out of these when I was running 8. I got at 0.6 of an ohm. So what I didn't do is I did clamp these at the contest, but I didn't find out what my box rise was because last season when I first got these at the end of the season, like I said, at 0.6, I got 8,800 watts out of each one of them. All right. And I was 2 clicks down. And I also was 2 clicks down on these this past Sunday as well. because there's a certain volume that I haven't set at to burp. You know what I mean? So I was 2 clicks down and I got almost 8K out. I'm 7,900 and something 2 clicks down. So if I would have went 2 clicks up, I would have probably almost did 9,000 out of them. And I did, my goal was 163 was my goal. And I got a 162.96 is what I did. So that's almost a 63. So if I would have went up 2 more clicks, I would have went over 3K. I'm pretty sure of that. Because it was clean. You know what I mean? But it was unexpected. So, like I said, I got another one in. I took a trip, and got another one in. So I'm hoping for the best. And so what I did is I reset my AC volts. I actually turned it down. My AC volts down to like 105.9, 106. It fluctuates. These jump back and forth. So I got it at 106. So I went like from 106.8 down to 106. You know what I mean? I just turned them down. That's what I did. And that's what was the problem with that. And I still did my park and pound runs and demoed anyway. I was like, man, I'm not going to not finish competing because of what happened. I still did park and pound. I still took first place in park and pound. I still got best to show in park and pound, but I was not happy with the park and pound numbers. And what was explained to me is there was still a sub and it was like resonating. It didn't have an amp working. Okay, so that's probably because the scores, my park and pound scores, wasn't what they were supposed to be. If I would have blocked that off, then it probably would have been so that's what was explained to me of why my park and pound scores was what they were. All right, so that's what happened with that. Hopefully this doesn't happen again because there's no reason why that amp should have popped for either one of us. I mean, Mike was saying, his fixer guy was like, well, it could have been the moisture, you know what I mean, and yada, 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 and so on and so forth. It could have been a number of things. Man, the amp could have got banged around on its way here from Brazil. So let me just move on up here. And let me talk about this alternator setup. Okay. I had mentioned in one of the videos when I first got these running, okay, that there was some chattering going on in alternator number 2. And that's for Tony, okay? I might have to send it back to him or take it back to him to see what's in there chattering and banging up against each other in there. You know what I mean? The alternator's operating. It's just the noise when it's at high idle warming up. And then when it gets idled down, it quiets down, but you can still hear it. You know what I mean? And for my boy Ben Hank, my mechanic, sometimes I gotta communicate with my mechanic through a video because I can't see him all the time because he's working and I'm working. Okay, I didn't know that a lot of stuff come into factor with a belt wrap and how an alternator performs, on how the belt is wrapped as well. I didn't know that. You learn something every day. You know what I mean? It's always trial and error with me. I'm always under here trying to figure out how to better what I'm doing. Okay? Of course, these alternators are small case. And I had told you guys that me and the guy that built these for CES, Tony, had a miscommunication when we talked on the phone that the alternators there they all go. The big case Dodges. Okay, and I had a couple of those fixed by a local electrical shop that put some new rectifiers in them because the rectifiers had burned up. And the reason why they burned up, okay, if you go over here to the the driver's side of the vehicle, alternator number 4. Because of how this is wrapped, this alternator was getting real hot. Immediately, like almost as soon as the car was fired up, it was getting hot at like 10 seconds after the car's fired up. It was already starting to get hot. And this was happening for a while. Okay, when the other alternators was on here, and I was wondering, and this is when I was down here before I moved into my brother's garage, and I was wondering why that alternator was getting hot real quick like that. And sometimes it happens on this end, and it's got to do with how it's wrapped, and my mechanic, Ben, had figured that out, because the alternator was like getting 20 degrees hotter than all the rest of them. You know what I mean? Like real hot, you know, and I'm driving around street beating, and it just got to the point where it's over 200 degrees, something degrees, and ended up melting the rectifiers in it. All right, and it did it to like three alternators actually. Okay, and it had messed up the rectifier and a stator in one of them to the point where I just told them to just throw the alternator away. Okay. Because they don't do high amp alternators down there in Murray Automotive Electric. They don't do that. They fix alternators and that, but they don't build high ampers alternators like CES and Brand X and Ohio Generator and Auto Tech Engineering and all. They don't do all that. And what MacMan, they don't do that kind of stuff. Okay, so what I did, now this pulley right here was moved over to that side because I could, I did all kinds of wraps. I used all kinds of lengths of belts. The original holes for these alternators actually is right, where is it? Right over there is the original holes when I designed this alternator bracket, where it was right in the middle, and it was like a perfect V on both sides. Okay, and what I attempted to do is go back to that, so one side wouldn't have more tension than the other. Like I said, now, when this pulley is over on this side and it got more tension on this side, that alternator is going to get hot. That's what's happening with this alternator over on this side. Now, as you see how the belt goes straight down, here it goes straight down, and over here, how the belt like kind of slants off to the left there. It slants off to that way. Okay. And that pulley was over here. This alternator was getting hot because of that. Now, if this belt was straight up and down like that one is over there, then it wouldn't get as hot. Okay, so I tried a few different things to stop it. First, I moved it over there. Now, yesterday when I moved it over there to where it is, now this one was getting a little bit hotter than that one. It was like 10 degrees hotter, and 10 degrees hotter is not all that bad. Okay, but I'm getting somewhere with this. Okay, so I had an old belt on here too, a belt that I had on for, I don't know, a year and a half. So I had moved it over, but then me and my boy Dre was down here, and we was trying some other wraps. Okay. I got it back in the middle, and then now this one was 10 degrees hotter than that one, when it was like in a perfect V. Okay, but the sad story with that is even though when I moved the pulleys back up like that, you see how they're nice and even? It's nice and even and lined up. When I move it down, for some odd reason, this side, these belts on this side only would move forward and be crooked. And if I space it out, it'll still be crooked. And that's what I was worried about when I had it back. I don't know why that happened. You know what I mean? The belt didn't jump off at first. But then the day when I come down to start it up, it flew right off. And I just put it back to the way it was. Technically, this is a good wrap. This is about the best wrap that I'm technically going to get because of belt sizes and all of that. Since this is a modification, it's hard to find, there's no in-betweens on the belts. All of those belts that they got out there is made for a specific vehicle. And it's just trial and error when you do something like this. You know what I mean? And like I said before, I got all these belts here, these different belts. I got all these pulleys here, big pulleys, small pulleys. And I've tried just about all of them in all different kinds of configurations to try to get the tightest, most snuggest wrap I can get. So I ain't got to do too much tightening. And that, a manual tensioner, I designed that manual tensioner a few years ago. Okay, I designed that tensioner like in 2020. All right, I designed this bracket, but I had somebody weld it, but I designed it. I came up with all of this. I did all the cutting and the sizing. I just had somebody, a friend, Mike Simpson, come and weld it. You know what I mean? And this maybe I should have been something else instead of a barber. But when I put a brand new belt on here about an hour ago, a brand spanking new belt, Ben, because like I said, earlier when it moved over here, all of a sudden this thing wanted to get 20 degrees hotter anyway. Even though when I moved it over here before, that one was 10 degrees hotter than that one. So I put a brand spanking new belt on, and guess what? This didn't get hot no more than this one, and that one all was reading the same thing. Now this one is getting hot. And the belt ain't square or nothing, brand new belt. So I'm gonna take and move that one over to there and see if everything equals out once I move that pulley over there like that pulley is moved over there. I'm gonna move it over, all right, and see what happens and see if this one, because now this one is 20 degrees hotter than all the rest of them. And it's all got to do with a wrap. Because the last thing that I was going to go ahead and try, Ben, is we talked about putting a pulley down there. And that's the last thing I would try, is putting a pulley down there and making the belt come around that pulley, and then it would be straight up and down like that one is. You know what I mean? But, you know, I'm going to take and move this pulley over this way and see if the heat equals out. Because I was surprised when I put a brand new belt on, how now all of a sudden it's equal. The heat is equal between them two now. And it's kind of funny to me how that, you know, how that fluctuates, man. It's weird. It's real weird, man. And it's annoying as well. You know what I mean? Because if the alternator's only 10 degrees hotter, that's cool. If it's 20 degrees hotter than the rest of them, that's not cool. That's not cool, because it's just going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. You know what I mean? So that's what's going on with that. You know, and I always can throw those back on. Because, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? Like, I can't really see too big of a difference between these 320s and those 220s, man. In a way, it's almost like I wasted my money by buying these when I could have just left them on. And one of the reasons why I got these is because one of them alternators getting hot. And I thought maybe it was because they were 220s. And the 320s, since they were specially built and all of that, that they wouldn't do that. That's what I thought. So $1,400, you know, those 220s would have went on and did the job, man, technically. I started having this heating problem, and it all had to do with the wrap, believe it or not. So I'm going to go ahead and move this pulley over that way and fire it up and see if this alternator still gets hot anyway, real hotter than the rest of them anyway, because now these three is equal. Now the one that was getting hot all the time is not getting hot, or just maybe, depending on the day that it is, it may decide to get hot anyway. Oh my goodness, dude. Trial and error. And I'm saying to myself, man, I was like, man, maybe after, and I've been saying this, but it's like maybe after this season, man, I may be done with this, man, because it's just a money pit, man. It's a money pit. It is, man. It's a money pit. And I've been asking you guys about somebody that does vinyl graphics, man. Batman's coming out and stuff. My guy, he's just incognito, unfindable. I'm calling him and everything, man. It's just hard to find events, man, to get this stuff redone. I want to get this stuff, that hood and that trunk redone before the 31st of May for the Ohio show. Okay, and I'm going to be mainly in the Resilient Sounds and Stetson booth, hanging out with all the guys that's running Stetson and Resilient Sounds. You know what I mean? Robbie got a spot for me and Mike Matt, because we're representing his stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm going to say about Robbie, I'm going to tag him, man. He's a pretty straight up guy, man. You know what I mean? I'm just getting to know him. He's a pretty straight up dude, man. Since I've been competing and using certain equipment and representing certain equipment and trying to find an owner that, you know, realizes people just repping his stuff, man, and treating them right. I've been getting treated the best by him so far, man. His warranties are good. You know what I mean? He ain't arguing with no doggone body. He tells you how things are going to go. You know what I mean? And, you know, I think I'm going to be sticking with... And I like how his subs, oh, man. They're saying something. They're saying something, man. You know what I mean? So, that's what I've been waiting for, man. You know what I mean? So, that's that. So, that's what I wanted to get off my chest. You know what I mean? And you guys, you bastards, bro, cut it out, man. You know, y'all still with that cheap power stuff. Yeah, whatever, man. And I know us guys that uses the Brazilian brands, you know what I mean? A lot of us are satisfied with that power that we're running, man. So bashing what we're doing is not going to make us change what we're doing, man. You just go ahead and use what you use, and we'll use what we use. I've seen Korean amps blow up a little more often than I should in the last couple years, man. That goes for Crossfire, B2, or any of that. I've seen them things go bad too, man. If it's man-made, it's going to break. It's man-made. Men are not perfect. All right, if that was the case, nothing would ever break. All right. And I'm going to end up, what I'm going to do is talk to Tony and end up getting me a backup or two. I'm going to get me a couple backups of those Stetsons too, man, so I can always have a backup, a game plan when something like this happens. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get a backup or two. So I can, if I have to send one of these back or one of them back, I'd rather take the drive and get it done and over with right then and there. Then I'll have backups, man. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm glad I got a peace of mind being back down there, even though it was cheaper. I was only paying $150 a month with my brothers, and it's $280 something here. But it's more like a peace of mind, more room to move around. More organized, man. Stuff's not in my way. I was having problems with lifting my trunk up and my wing hitting into the garage door because and stuff like that, man. And it's just, I had to bend my mirrors. You know what I mean? I had to bend my mirrors so I can get in. It was like a real tight fit getting in to it. And I can leave my mirrors out, man. It was just some complications and some stuff I don't want to talk about. All right. So, when I got to get Resilient Sound's name and stuff on it, I need a graphic guy, man. Every time I get turned on by one and I try to call them, they don't answer, man, like they're making that much money. I need a graphic guy, man. Even if I got to go to Ohio. Who knows a guy that does graphic? Why don't you graphic guys say something? Do y'all want my money? Man, there's no pride in workmanship anymore. All right, so it's your boy, the OG Soda Pop Kid. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. I'm going to post this video up. Y'all post up y'all comments. Peace.